Salome was a 100-level university student. She was the kind of girl every parent prayed for. She was a beacon of light, pure, intelligent, beautiful, respectful, God-fearing and driven by values rare in her generation. She loved God, dressed modestly, always tried to do what is right and serious with her studies. Her parents, humble and hardworking, had barely enough to survive, yet they pushed every limit to send their only daughter to the university. They worked hard to pay her school fees and send her small allowance. Even though the money wasn't enough, Salome was contented. She never complained. She appreciated their sacrifice and lived with the barest minimum, making sure to save every penny her struggling parents sent her. Her world revolved around academics, prayer, returning to her hostel after class and phone calls to her parents. She had no time for frivolities, no space for distractions. While other students went to parties, Salome remained focused on her education. Her classmates often called her boring, but she wore discipline like a crown, feeling proud of the life she had chosen. Her roommate Amber Lane, Amber for short, however, was the total opposite. Amber saw university life not as a path to education, but as a golden ticket to freedom. Her upbringing had been a tightly controlled life, tightly caged by her strict, overprotective parents. There was no room to breathe. But now, she was in university. She was free at last to do whatever she wanted. She barely went to class. Instead, she went to clubs, parties and hung out with different rich older men. These men gave her money, gifts, clothes, just to sleep with her. But Amber didn't care. As long as money was flowing, she was happy. At first, Salome didn't like her. She judged her because of her lifestyle. How can someone live like this? She thought. But over time, something changed. Amber began to show kindness. Whenever Salome didn't have money for food or toiletries, Amber helped her without being asked. When Amber went shopping, she always brought extra things for Salome. At first, Salome rejected the gifts.
I don't want something you get from sleeping around,
she had once said. But when her parents stopped sending money for a long time, hunger humbled her. Slowly, she started accepting Amber's help. They became close friends. They laughed together, shared secrets, and supported each other. Even though Salome didn't approve of Amber's lifestyle, she stopped judging her. And even though Amber loved to party, she respected Salome's choice to stay away from that life. Still, Salome never went with Amber to clubs. One evening, Salome was studying for her upcoming exams. The room was quiet, except for the pen moving across her notebook. Amber, however, was getting ready for another night out. She wore a tight dress, high heels, put on makeup and sprayed an expensive perfume. She looked like she was going to a fashion show. Salome looked up from her book.
Amber, you are going out again? Have you forgotten we have exams coming up?
Amber laughed as she carried her bag.
Leave that one, Jerry. You are stressing yourself too much with all this book. If you want to read, that's fine, oh. But I'm telling you, if I go out with my papi tonight, do you know how much he will give me? I can use the money to sort my exams and still have plenty left. So why should I bother reading? You're just wasting your time. Stop stressing yourself. Come out with me. There's lots of money outside, and these hungry lecturers won't hesitate to take your money and give you a good score. Life isn't just about books. You need to relax. You're too dead serious.
Salome looked at Amber for a moment, but Amber's voice didn't change her mind. She had heard this from her so many times before, but it never felt right to her. Amber was speaking from a place of experience, but Salome's heart was set on doing things the right way. She can't do what Amber was doing for money.
I'm going, oh. Chief Emeka driver is outside. We are going to a rooftop party. There will be food, drinks, and lots of money. Don't worry, I'll bring something back for you. I got you.
Amber said and left, shutting the door behind her. Salome sighed but didn't say anything. She stayed at her desk, reading long into the night. She was determined. Her eyes barely left the pages of her books, her mind focused on the weight of her exams. The pressure of doing well. She knew she had to work harder than most because she didn't have luxury of buying her way through school like others. Her parents had sacrificed so much to send her here, and she couldn't disappoint them. But despite their different ways of navigating university life, they both managed to pass their exams. Amber relied on money and Salome on the other hand through hard work and dedication. One hot afternoon after another long, tiring day of lectures, Salome sat alone under a tree on campus. She had just finished another round of studying and needed a break. As Salome sat there lost in thoughts, someone approached her.
"Excuse me, is this seat taken?"
A voice asked, breaking her from her thoughts. Salome looked up and saw a young man standing there. He was tall with dark eyes that seemed to hold a mix of curiosity and respect. She didn't recognize him.
No, you can sit,
she said politely. The young man smiled, sitting down beside her. He introduced himself as Daniel, a course mate. Salome was confused at first. She didn't know many people in her class, her busy schedule left little time for mingling. But when Daniel mentioned they were in same department, it clicked.
Oh, okay, I'm Salome,
she said slowly. They exchanged few pleasantries, but as the conversation flowed, Salome noticed something different about Daniel. He wasn't like most of the other guys on campus who will flirt or make jokes. He was calm, respectful, and genuinely interested in her thoughts. Daniel has been watching Salome for a while, observing the quiet determination she carried with her. He admired how dedicated she was to her studies, how she carried herself with dignity despite the struggles she faced. He had noticed her always walking alone, always with books in her hand. Rarely stopping to chat with anyone. Her bond with Amber was obvious, but he could tell they were different in how they live lives. As the days went on, Salome and Daniel started meeting more often. It began with small moments. They would sit together in the library, or they would walk together to class. Slowly, their friendship grew. Salome found comfort in his presence. Daniel wasn't like Amber. He didn't pressure her to go to parties or abandon her principles for quick rewards. He respected her values, and that made Salome feel safe and appreciated. She didn't feel judged. They started going to school together, studying together during exam periods. They helped each other out, forming a small but strong team. Daniel wasn't rich, but he came from a good family. His values were solid, and his presence felt like a safe haven for Salome. He made Salome feel heard, seen, and respected. They spent more time together, sitting under the same tree, laughing, studying, and becoming close friends. Their relationship blossomed in a way Salome never expected. Their bond from shared understanding of hard work and ambition to something deeper, something tender. Salome was careful with her heart. She had always been cautious, focused on her studies and steadfast in her values. But Daniel made her feel in a way no one else had. Before they became a couple, Salome made it clear to him that she was still a virgin and wasn't ready for intimacy until marriage. Daniel, to his surprise, respected her decisions wholeheartedly. In a world where relationships were often defined by instant gratification, someone like Salome was rare. His respect for her grew in that moment. He too had never been with anyone, and he felt a deep connection to her because of her values. Their relationship wasn't just built on love, it was built on respect, understanding, and patience. As their relationship deepened, Daniel's thoughts often lingered on Amber. He couldn't understand how someone as intelligent and capable as Salome could have a best friend like Amber who seemed to have a completely different approach to life. Amber, carefree and unconcerned, thrived in an environment of parties. She often surrounded herself with men who lavished her with gifts and money. Daniel disliked Amber's lifestyle. He saw the way she lived for the moment without concern for tomorrow, and he didn't like the influence she had on Salome. He would often advise Salome to stay away from her, to cut ties with Amber who could lead her down a path she might regret.
You don't know her like I do. Amber is my best friend and I've known her long before I met you, so please don't talk about her like that again.
Salome said furiously one time. Daniel would sigh, knowing he could never win when it comes to Amber. He loved Salome deeply, but he also felt protective of her, especially when it comes to her best friend's reckless behavior. Every time the conversation started, Daniel would hold his tongue, seeing the pain in Salome's eyes whenever Amber's name was mentioned. As the years passed, Salome and Daniel continued to grow closer. They graduated from university, but their paths were different. Salome graduated with first-class honors, her hard work, determination, and sacrifices paying off in the form of her academic achievement. Daniel, though equally brilliant, graduated with a second-class upper honors. Amber, who had continued her carefree ways, also graduated with second-class upper, but her journey after graduation would take an unexpected turn. Few months after graduation, Amber's life took a dramatic turn. Her sugar daddy Chief Emeka, a wealthy man whom she had been dating for a while, took her abroad to pursue her master's degree. He did not only paid for her education but also secured a high-paying job for her after graduation. Though she was his third wife, Amber seemed to be enjoying her best life. She had everything she could want: luxury, stability, and a life far removed from the struggles Salome was facing. Salome couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy and confusion. Amber, who had always lived without care for her future, now has everything she could want. She was thriving in a way that Salome couldn't seem to achieve. Salome had worked so hard, stayed true to her values, and sacrificed so much, yet she found herself struggling so much to secure a job. It didn't seem fair. Her first-class honors and impressive qualifications, Salome couldn't catch a break. She had completed her mandatory youth service year, but the job market was cruel. Rejection letters piled up, each one heavier than the last. Salome walked the scorching streets, attended countless interviews, and sent out endless applications letters to no avail. No one called her back. She would get rejected again and again. Every day, the weight of failure seemed to grow. There were times when the frustrations overwhelmed her, leaving her questioning why things weren't working out. Daniel, now the manager of his father's small farm, was the only one who truly understood the weight Salome carried. He knew how hard she had worked and sacrificed for her education and how much she deserved to be rewarded for her efforts, but he also understood how competitive the job market was and how difficult it was to break through, especially for someone like Salome who had no connections to leverage. He would encourage her, telling her that her time would come, that she shouldn't give up. But Salome's spirit was breaking. It felt as if no matter how hard she tried, the world was working against her. How could someone like Amber, who had lived recklessly without worrying about the future, be so successful and thriving abroad, while she, the delightful, hardworking and focused student who had always played by the rules, couldn't find a way forward? The contraction gnawed at Salome. The weeks turned into months, and Salome continued her search, but the weight of disappointment seemed to grow heavier. Daniel was always there for her, a steady presence in her life. He supported her when no one else seemed to, but the cracks in Salome's heart were growing deeper. Salome's heart was heavy as she sat in her small apartment one evening. Her phone pressed tightly against her ear. Every night, after a long fruitless day of job hunting, she would call Amber. She needed to talk to someone who could understand her frustration. Amber, despite her wild lifestyle, had always been there for Salome in one way or the other, even though their paths were different. On the phone, Salome would pour out her heart about the struggles she was facing, the countless job rejections, and the crushing weight of uncertainty. Amber listened with concern, her voice softening with each complaint Salome voiced out. It was clear that Amber genuinely cared for her, despite her ways.
Don't worry, Salome. I'll talk to my husband about it. He will help you.
Amber reassured her. Salome, desperate for any chance to escape frustration of her situation, felt a glimmer of hope. The next day, Salome received a call from Amber with good news. Her husband had spoken to a business partner of his, Mr. Stephen, who owned a multi-million company. He was willing to offer Salome a job, a great position, good salary, and great benefits. Salome could hardly believe it. After months of searching and facing rejection, it seemed like everything was finally going to fall into place. She couldn't stop thanking Amber. Mr. Steven, when Salome was introduced to him, was friendly at first. He praised her qualifications and work ethic. He seemed genuinely interested in helping her. But when the conversation turned to terms of the job, Salome's excitement turned to confusion. Mr. Steven made his offer clear, a good position with an attractive salary, but there was a condition. A condition that made Salome's blood run cold. He would only offer her the job if she agreed to his condition. He would only offer her the job if she agreed to sleep with him. Salome couldn't believe her ears. The very idea of trading her body for something, money or job, was appalling. She would never do such thing. She stood up from her seat, her hand shaking.
No, sir. I can't do that. I will never sell my body for a job, not for anything.
Salome said. Mr. Steven's tone shifted. There was no longer warmth in his voice, only annoyance and impatience.
You are making a mistake, Salome. But it's your choice.
He said coldly. Salome left his office, her heart racing. She felt nauseous. She had never been this insulted in her entire life. She had believed this opportunity would be her breakthrough. Instead, it felt like a slap in the face, a test to her values and one she refused to fail. Later that night, Salome called Amber to explain what happened. She needed her best friend to understand, to support her in her decision, even if Amber didn't agree. But Amber's reaction was not what Salome expected.
What do you mean by you rejected the job offer? Are you crazy? You pushed away a huge opportunity just like that? For what? Your beliefs? Salome, you've been walking around looking for a job for months, and here is an opportunity handed to you on a silver platter, and you threw it away just like that? Do you know how many people will queue for an opportunity like this? Are you stupid? Don't you think?
Salome flinched at Amber's words. They hurt more than she expected. She had never imagined Amber would react like this. She tried to remain calm, but the hurt was evident in her voice.
I won't do it, Amber. I won't give in to that kind of compromise. My God will provide for me,
she said, her voice steady despite the pain. Amber's laugh was bitter.
Your God will provide, huh? You think God will help you? God will only help those who help themselves, Salome. You could have had it all. You could have been settled, working in a good company. But no, you want to be the perfect little angel. Now look at you. Still jobless and begging for help. Do what needs to be done. Don't be a fool.
Salome's heart sank. Amber's harsh words stung, but she remained calm.
I don't need your help if it means compromising my values,
Salome replied, her voice cold. Amber was silent for a moment, then hung up the phone, leaving Salome to process the conversation alone in the quiet of her room. The phone call had left a bitter taste in Salome's mouth. She felt the weight of Amber's disappointment, but she also knew deep down that she had made the right choice. She couldn't live with herself if she had agreed to Mr. Steven's terms. Weeks turned and Salome's frustration grew with each passing day. Her job search felt endless, then every time she applied for a position, she received rejection after rejection. She didn't have the energy to call Amber anymore. It felt like Amber had given up on her and Salome couldn't bear to hear more of the same harsh words. The loneliness of it all weighed heavily on her. One evening after another day of walking through the city in search of job, Salome sat in her small room, her eyes bloodshot from exhaustion. She picked up her phone, hesitated for a moment, but the weight of her situation pushed her to make the call. She dialed Amber's number and she picked up immediately as if she had been waiting for it.
Have you made up your mind now?
Amber's words was cold and distant. There was no kindness in her words. It was clear she was done for pity. Salome took a deep breath. Her voice trembled as she spoke.
Amber, I'm sorry. I don't want to be walking around Lagos anymore looking for a job. I can't keep doing this. Please help me. Help me find something, anything. I'm tired.
Amber paused, and for a moment, Salome thought she might hear the same harsh words again. But then, Amber sighed, and there was a slight shift in her tone.
I will talk to Papi again, but don't expect things to be different. You know how this works.
Salome's heart sank. She had hoped for more, but deep down, she knew what was coming but prayed silently that it shouldn't be tough like the previous one. Few days later, Salome received another offer. It came from Mr. Obi, one of Chief Emeka's business associates. Like the previous offer, the position was lucrative. The salary was high, the benefits were great, but once again, there was a catch. The same condition, sex. Salome's heart sank to her stomach. This was the second time she had been offered a job under such degrading terms. The desperation was beginning to cloud her judgment, but deep within her still refused to give in. She had come so far, fought so hard. She couldn't betray herself now. She couldn't betray her value. But the question lingered in her mind, how long could she hold on to integrity before everything came crashing down? Salome walked home that evening with tears blurring her vision. The weight of the day pressed heavily on her chest, making it hard to breathe. Her heart ached, and not just from the rejection of yet another job offer, but from the crushing sense of betrayal she felt from the world around her. She had always believed that hard work and dedication would eventually lead her to success, but the reality she was facing now was different. All the opportunity she had been offered seemed to come with a price, her dignity. Her heart broke every time she had to say no. It felt like she was losing a little more of herself. At home, she kept questioning everything. Why was this happening to her? Why was it so hard for her to find a job? She had worked so hard in school, graduated with honors, yet now, her qualifications meant nothing. It was as if her worth had been reduced to her body, and that was something she refused to give up. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thought. It was Amber. Salome wiped her tears, trying to pull herself together. She wasn't ready for another conversation like the ones they've been having, but she knew Amber would want to know what happened. She hesitated for a moment before answering the call.
Hello, Salome. What's up? How was today? Did you take the offer?
Amber's voice came through, neutral but distant. The question hit Salome like a slap. She felt her frustration rise.
Amber, you know me so well. I've never done anything like that before, and you think I would do it now? This is the 8th man your husband has referred to me, and they all want my body before they offer me a job. Can't you at least talk to him to stop sending me to his friend who make disgusting conditions before they offer me a job? I have a boyfriend, Amber. I don't want to live like this. I'm tired.
There was silence on the other end for a moment, and when Amber finally spoke, her words were sharp, filled with cold anger, colder than Salome had ever had before.
I did more than that to get to where I am today. You think you are better than me because of your beliefs? Let me tell you something, Salome. Listen to me. I owe you nothing. I've been trying to help you because of the relationship we shared. But clearly, you're not ready to do what needs to be done. You should be grateful that I'm even trying to help you. So many people will kill for the opportunity that I'm offering you. You're claiming you have a boyfriend. What have that your so-called poor, wretched boyfriend even done for you? Why not go to him to get you a job then? Why are you coming to me?
Salome's heart shattered. Amber's words were like dagger cutting deep into the bond they once shared. She had never imagined Amber would react this way. The anger in Amber's voice left no room for understanding. She had hoped that Amber would be there for her, but now it felt like the last thread of their friendship was unraveling before her eyes. Amber hung up the phone, leaving Salome alone with her broken heart. She collapsed onto the bed crying uncontrollably. The world felt heavy, too heavy for her to carry. Why me? She cried out silently in her room. Why does everything seem too difficult? The next day, Daniel went to visit Salome. He had been a source of comfort for her, and today, she desperately needed his support. When he arrived, he immediately noticed her swollen eyes and tired, defeated look on her face.
Salome, are you okay?
He asked gently, concern written all over his face. Salome tried to smile, but it was forced. Tears began to fall once again. This time, she didn't hold them back. She didn't have the energy to hide her pain anymore. She didn't say much, but the pain in her eyes told Daniel everything he needed to know. She was exhausted, emotionally, physically, and mentally.
I'm tired, Daniel. I'm so tired of looking for a job every day. I've tried everything, but nothing is working out.
Daniel's heart ached for her. He had admired Salome's strength, but right now, it seemed as if the world was pushing her to her breaking point. He wanted to help her, to make everything better, but he didn't know how to.
We will get through this, Salome. I believe in you. Everything will work out soon, I promise.
He gently assured her. But Salome wasn't sure anymore. She had lost faith that everything would be okay. She had worked hard, stayed true to her values, and yet life seemed to be testing her at every turn. Few weeks later, Salome walked home from yet another job interview. She had been attending interviews, but each one ended the same way: rejection. The confidence that had once filled her was slowly fading, replaced by numb acceptance that perhaps she wasn't meant for this world after all. Today's interview had been no different: another rejection, another door closed, so she thought. She had completely lost hope of ever getting a job. As she walked down the street, the heat of the sun beating down on her, she couldn't help but feel defeated. The weight of disappointment pressed down on her shoulders. Then a car slowed down beside her and the window rolled down. A tall, dark man with a calm, soothing demeanor smiled at her.
What's a beautiful lady like you doing under the sun?
He asked, his voice smooth and friendly. Salome hesitated before answering.
I'm coming back from a job interview.
The man's smile widened.
Well, if you don't mind, I can give you a ride. It's too hot for you to be walking around like this.
Salome paused for a moment, unsure, but the heat was unbearable and she didn't want to seem rude, so she got into the car. The man introduced himself as Gentle and they exchanged pleasantries. During the drive, Salome didn't feel like talking much, so the rest of the drive was silent. When they arrived at her destination, Salome was about to get down out of the car, but Gentle stopped her.
You said you're looking for a job, right?
He asked gently, and Salome nodded, unsure of where this was going. He handed her his complimentary card that he pulled from his pocket and said,
Call me, I can help you.
Salome took the card silently, her mind racing. She had no idea who this man was, but something about the way he spoke made her think that maybe, just maybe, he could offer her the opportunity she had been searching for. Without saying a word, she stepped down and watched as the car drove away. Salome sat quietly on her bed in her small room, gently sipping a bowl of her last Gary, the only thing she had left to eat. Her mind wasn't there, it was somewhere else, wrapped around the image of Gentle, the kind stranger. Salome couldn't forget how handsome he was. The way he smiled. The way he spoke so softly and smelled so good. She found herself blushing. For the first time in months, she smiled without forcing it. She picked up the complimentary card that Gentle had given her earlier. She hesitated before dialing the number.
Hello.
A deep voice answered almost immediately.
Hi. It's me, the guy you gave a lift that was returning from a job interview today.
She said. Gentle recalled immediately. He seemed happy to hear her voice. They talked for a while. Gentle was charming, warm, and easy to talk to. He told her not to worry, he would give her a job. And for the first time in a long time, Salome felt hopeful. Gentle invited her over for his party that was taking place the next evening. Without thinking, Salome agreed. She knew exactly what was going on and where the invite was heading to, but this time, she didn't care. She was tired. Tired of being held. Tired of waiting. Tired of praying. Nothing had worked. Maybe this was the only way forward. Even though she had a boyfriend, Daniel, who had stood by her for years, she didn't care anymore. Holiness had brought her nothing but hunger and pain. The next day, she stepped into a boutique. All her clothes were either oversized or churchy. Nothing was fit for a party. She used her last money to buy a tight, short, revealing dress. Something sexy. Something Amber, her university roommate, would wear and she would judge. That evening, she transformed. She wore the dress she had bought and the wig Amber had given her months ago, but she had refused to wear it. Tonight was the perfect time to wear it. She stood in front of the mirror, shocked at how beautiful she looked. She had watched Amber prepare for parties so many times, now it was her turn. She sent a quick message to Daniel to avoid him from calling her. "I'm going to visit my parents, my dad is not feeling fine. I'll be back tomorrow." Then Gentle's call came. His driver picked her up in a black luxury car. When she arrived, Gentle couldn't believe his eyes.
Is this really the girl from yesterday?
He asked, stunned. Salome didn't say anything. She just smiled. Salome had never tasted alcohol before, but she didn't hesitate to take it that evening. She gulped down a glass of wine. She didn't want to be sober, she wanted to forget. To fall deep into the moment and let it carry her away. The music played softly as they danced. After a while, she whispered into Gentle's ear.
I'm a bit tipsy. I need to lie down.
Gentle led her into his room without a second thought. One thing led to another, they started kissing passionately. Clothes came off, kisses turned into soft moans. And just like that, the girl who vowed to wait until marriage gave everything away in a moment of weakness. Gentle noticed her tightness and realized she had never done it before. But she moved like someone who had, like an expert. Salome made sure to enjoy every second. If this was a sin, she told herself, at least it would be a good one. Days passed after that night, Gentle never called. Salome waited, sent texts, tried calling with different numbers, but his number was suddenly unreachable. He vanished like a shadow. Her mind raced. Did she do something wrong? Was she not good enough? She asked herself over and over, unable to sleep. Few days later, Daniel came rushing in one morning, his face was glowing with joy.
What's going on?
Guess what?
You know I'm not good at guessing.
My uncle in the UK owns one of the biggest companies over there and they needed a general project supervisor. So I secretly submitted your CV and required documents to him. He was really impressed. He said you're exactly who they've been looking for and he's offering you the job. They will sponsor your relocation, give you a house, a car, and a great salary.
Salome jumped up for joy.
Thank you, Jesus!
She said, excitedly hugging him tightly. After years of struggling and praying, her breakthrough had finally come. But then, her joy faded.
But what about you? What will happen to you here? You're not earning enough from your father's farm.
Daniel smiled, then told her how he had been repeatedly sending CV to one of the top company in UK and how they finally accepted him. They'll be sponsoring him too. Salome was overwhelmed with joy.
I'll marry you the moment we get there.
Daniel said with pride. But one thing remained, their medical report. It was all that was left to do. It was a requirement and without it they couldn't proceed. The next day, they went to the hospital together. They ran a general test and waited. The doctor came out with Daniel's result.
Everything is clear,
She said with a smile. Then she turned to Salome.
Miss Salome, I would like to speak with you privately. We came together. He's my fiancé. I have nothing to hide from him.
Salome said, confused on why the doctor wanted to see her privately.
Are you sure you don't want me to say it privately?
The doctor asked again and Salome nodded. Then the doctor sighed and revealed the damage.
Miss Salome, you tested positive for HIV.
The world seemed to stop. The air went cold. Daniel's face turned pale.
What? What do you mean? That's not possible. She has never. We have never.
Daniel stammered, he couldn't find the right word to use. Salome's lips trembled. Her heart was crashing inside her chest. Then the realization hit her. Gentle. He must have infected her. Who could have thought that a handsome man like Gentle had such a deadly virus? He looked healthy.
Gentle is a HIV patient.
She whispered aloud, horrified.
Who is Gentle?
Daniel asked, eyes narrowing. Salome froze, she couldn't speak. She tried to speak but no sound came out.
Salome, tell me it's not true.
I'm sorry, Daniel. It happened just once. I was tired. I didn't mean to. Please forgive me.
How could you? You promised me. You promised to wait. I kept myself for you. I defended you. I believed in you and you did this. You deceived me. You're not who I thought you were. I thought you were different from Amber. But you're just like her. In fact, you're worse than her. At least Amber never pretended. She lived her true self. But you've been pretending all along. You wore the marks of righteousness, but you were hiding this. You're a green snake in a green grass.
Daniel said in a broken voice. He was about to walk away but stopped.
Oh, and forget the job. You've ruined everything. Did not accept HIV patients. I tried so hard to get it for you. Years of effort wasted.
Daniel said. Then he walked away. Salome fell to her knees begging and crying uncontrollably, but Daniel didn't turn back. Alone in her room, she wept. She tried calling and messaging him but he blocked her everywhere. Few weeks later, she heard he had relocated. Her heart broke all over again. She cried every day in her room. Regret tore her soul. They would have traveled together but her one mistake had destroyed her life. If only she had waited patiently enough, she thought and cried. A month later, her phone buzzed. It was an email from the company she had interviewed with, the same one from the day she met Gentle. Congratulations. You have been accepted for the position. It was a good job. A high position. High paying. Everything she had prayed for. But it came too late. Instead of joy, Salome broke down in tears. If only she had waited. God was definitely preparing something big for her but she didn't have enough patience. If only she had just waited just a little longer. If only she had trusted her journey. She got everything she ever wanted, a nice and comfortable apartment, her dream car, but it came at a cost she could never repay. Every day at work, she wore a smile on her face but cried silently in her office. She had lost the love of her life, her pride and her peace. Few months later, Chief Emeka caught Ambalen red-handed cheating on him with his driver. Disappointed and angry, he divorced her, took everything he had given and bought for her, then sent her back to Nigeria. Never allow desperation to push you into compromising your values. Life may be hard and opportunities may seem few, but choosing the wrong path can lead to pain, regret and lifelong consequences. Patience, dignity, and faith in doing what is right will always shine brighter in the end. No job or favor is worth the price of your peace, your health, or your soul. Stand firm in your values, your self-respect, your peace of mind because your future are worth more than any temporary gain. What is rushed is wrong and never end well, but what is earned with patience and integrity lasts forever. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story. Kindly leave your thoughts in the comment section and also do well to share with your family, friends, in fact all your loved ones. Something good is always coming, so please stay tuned for more interesting and amazing story from this channel.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to Hopella Stories.